what better way to cap off and then lead into our silent auction than talking with the all-time winningest manager in Texas Ranger history, a man that's been to a couple World Series. He has been in the business of baseball for 50 years, Ron Washington. It's great to have you here. We'll take a seat and we'll just get a chance to chat. I know that Coach Tibb was able to meet with you a little bit earlier, and you also are going to be able to take part in a special presentation for us.
Yes, I am. Yesterday I met with the baseball team, and it was quite an experience because when I walked in the clubhouse, they were already prepared. And I saw exactly everything that was said up here tonight about them in their eyes. It was so attentive. I had a lot of wisdom to spill out, and I heard a lot of that wisdom tonight, so I'm very humbled and very appreciative to be here. And baseball has always been huge in my life. I'm a baseball rat. I've experienced quite so much in this game. And what we do is we like to give back. And that's what I do. I give back. So I forgot the kid's name that I'm supposed to give this talk.
Let's tell him right now. Zach Oten, you're about to be a part of something special.
Zach, come up.
We have surprises, and this is one. Zach Oten, come on now.
Zach, it's a pleasure. I have something I want to read to you. I have worked my tail off and earned a scholarship to Nicholls State University. Story, and everything that he asked of you, you've done. And I tell you what, it's tough in life to work and earn the things that you achieve. And that scholarship is all yours.
I couldn't be more thankful. This place has blessed me with so many great memories and friends and guys. And to be honest with you, I could have played all 4 years and not had a scholarship. It would have been the best 4 years of my life. I've met great guys, great teammates, I've had great coaches. That's all I can really, there's guys that have worked harder than me, there's guys that have done more than me, and but it's all because it's all hard work. It's all, they've put in the work to earn what they've done. That's all it's what it's about. It's not really about the flashy things that people do. It's not about the media work you get. The guys that wore these jerseys, guys like Tuck and Ernie and Cade and State, they've earned it. They've put in the work. They might not get the recognition they deserve, but the guys that are here now and the guys that were here before them know that. They put in the work and they deserve it. They're dirty red. And that's what this place is. It's all hard work. It's blue collar. And that's how we do it around here.
That's what we're here to support.
Nicholls baseball team is the luckiest and the most fortunate team that I've ever been a part of, and I mean that from my heart. I just met Seth Thibodeau. I just drove in yesterday and met him for the first time. And he's a true leader, and you guys are very lucky to have him and his coaching staff lead y'all. And you, all the people out here, you have to make certain that you attend the baseball games because you don't know how important you are to this group of young men, and especially to Seth Thibodeau and his coaching staff. You bet.
Your stature just did. I mean, you've got almost 50 years of being a player, minors, pros, been a coach. You've seen it all. What has stood out to you in the last couple of days that makes you think that this is that type of program?
The attitude, the commitment, and the effort. And if you take those words and eliminate everything but the first word, what do you get? Can anybody tell me? ACE. This program is ACE. And the kids are ACE. I just watched the way they went about their business yesterday, and I was moved. They care, and everything I heard tonight is about one, and that's how you're successful, by being one. You may have 30, 40 guys, but if we all pulling on the same rope, it's only one guy. And that's what you want to do to be successful. Everyone has to pull in the same direction and on the same rope. And it's not only the players, it's the support system. You need a support system. It's nothing worse than coming into a ballpark and the fans are not there heckling. Like the doctor said when he came up here, you know, he got brooms out there. If you want to leave the ball game, throw it on the field. But that's okay, because I'm more certain that the one that threw it out there cares. And that's what it's about. You have to care. And if you care, you get things done.
There's so many people here that probably have different associations with you, from either your playing days or managing the Rangers or now being with the Atlanta Braves. Let's start from the beginning, because you are New Orleans born and bred. 1970 was your big break when the Royals gave you a $1,000 signing bonus. You got on a plane for the first time in your life. You flew to Sarasota, and nothing has been the same since then. There's a lot of memories that we can lose along the way. That flight from New Orleans to Southwest Florida, what was going through your mind, and how did that day unfold?
Fright was going through my mind, simply because that's the first time I really left New Orleans. That's the first time I had ever been away from my family. So I didn't really know what to expect. First time I've ever been in an airplane. I was afraid. I didn't know if the plane was going to fall out of the sky. But the real thing that really surprised me is when I went to Sarasota, I didn't know I was going to the minor leagues. I was under the impression that when you sign a professional contract, you go to the big leagues. And I got off the plane and they said I was in Sarasota, and I said, well, what is in Sarasota? And they said, minor leagues. Minor leagues? Big league player. Again, I had attitude. Even at 17 years old, I had attitude.
Is that why you tried to renegotiate from $1,000 to $5,000?
Nope, I tried to renegotiate from $1,000 to $30,000. And believe this or not, when I asked for $30,000, my mom grabbed me in the chest and took me outside. And she said, "What are you doing begging those people for money?" And I said, "I'm not begging for money. Coach Kahn was my high school coach. He told me to ask for a bonus, and $30,000 was his number." And she told me, "We're here for an opportunity. Take your so-and-so back in there." And I went in, and I signed the contract, and when we were leaving, and I told my dad, I turned to my dad, and I said, "Why didn't you help me out?" He said, "I'm not messing with your mom."
You could have fielded a team in your home. Growing up, you had 9 brothers and sisters. Your dad had a truck route in the Crescent City, and every Monday you'd wake up and there'd be 3 $1 bills stacked on the living room table. All of your brothers and sisters had that money to last through the week. That's bus fare, that's batting practice, I mean, anything you want to spend that money on.
Well, that money was actually for lunch and to catch the bus. At the time, buses was running in New Orleans for a nickel. So at a young age, we learned how to make a few coins stretch. And when my dad went to work on Saturday, that was his money that he gave to us for the week. And if you ran out of money for the week, which I did a lot, I ended up walking to school. I ended up getting there the best way I can, but my mom and dad would never know that I spent it. And then I began to understand how to hold on to it.
You end up with a one-of-a-kind academy that the Royals created that has really been unmatched in the history of baseball, and it targeted American cities with athletes that just kind of fell under the radar, and we're going to to just be technically sound. We're going to learn the basics of baseball. You go to Sarasota as a 140-pound catcher. You get moved to almost every position in the infield. How was that academy ahead of its time and almost creating a one-of-a-kind opportunity for you to break into the game?
Well, there certainly wasn't any film where you can look at things. We did things on the chalkboard. Every fundamental that baseball has that could be produced on the field, we marked it off on the chalkboard, and then we went out on the field, and we were out there until we perfected it. And there's no perfection in baseball. Baseball is a game of failure. But we worked at it the best we could until we got into perfection. From the chalkboard to the field, from the chalkboard to the field. We lost our very first game in rookie league, and we rattled off 24 games before we lost another one. Because the one game we lost, we were playing the Cleveland Indians, and they ran a rally lap around the bags. And our manager, who was Buzzy Keller, from down in Seguin, Texas, he told us to drop our bags and watch. Because those guys out there running those bases, they'll never beat us again. And we won 24 games before anybody beat us again. I was a fundamentally sound kid. All of us were fundamentally sound. And that's how I learned my baseball. I learned my baseball by doing things the right way. It takes a lot of work to do it right. It takes no work to do it wrong.
And this is when the grind begins. 6 years in the minors before that first opportunity in September 1977 arrives. You're called up to a team that's going to go on to play in the World Series, Dodgers-Yankees 77, but in September of 77, you hit almost 360 to close the year and become a top prospect. Now, people say, well, Ron Washington, the player, super utility man, made the most out of what he had. Before those knee injuries in 78, you were one of the top prospects in the game for the Dodgers organization.
No doubt about it. But I hurt my knees. And at that time, Major League Baseball, they weren't moving players. The Pete Roses and Johnny Benches were in Cincinnati, Davey Lose and the Garvis and Ron Sage was in L.A., and Willie Stargell and the Dave Parkers, they was in Pittsburgh. So minor leagues weren't moving really that much. And I tore my knees up in 1978. And when I come back, I had to go to the back of the line because at that time the Dodgers had players on top of players. So when you made it to the front, when you came back, somebody passed you up, so you had to start from the back. Well, they decided they wanted to trade me. They traded me to the Minnesota Twins in 1977. 1970, let me see, 77, 78, I tore up my knees. I come back in 79. In 1980, they sent me to Minnesota. At the end of the year in 80, I went to the big leagues. In 81, I went to the big leagues again. In 82 was my first full year in the big leagues with the Minnesota Twins. So I ended up getting to the big leagues, but I would have been a part of the Dodgers organization if I would have torn up my knees. I may not have moved Bill Russell out the way. I may not have moved David Lopes out the way, but I would have been a part of that Dodger team that was a part of those championships for many years. But you know, life took me in another direction. And, my upbringing in New Orleans helped me to survive because there could have been many a times that I could have stopped and been home. But I say, as long as I got a uniform on my back, I don't have to take it. Never took it. I still have it on my back.
And now it's 82, and you and Randy Bush show up from New Orleans in Minneapolis, Minnesota. They weren't ready for you two.
Well, they certainly wasn't ready for Randy. Because Randy was super pinch hitter. I mean, this guy walked off the bench at any time and got a hit. I was super utility. I could play anywhere around the infield. I signed as a catcher. I even played some outfield. And the one thing that I remember being in 1982 that I remember, I could not make a mistake. I couldn't. The regular guys would go out there all day long and make a mistake. And I couldn't make a mistake. And I think that's why today I'm such a defensive-minded person, because I always found myself in the game late. I would get 99 at-bats, 120, 125 games. People would say, well, how you did that? Because in the 8th and 9th inning, I could run. When I pinched hit simply because the skipper knew that I would go up there, as I tried to express to those young guys yesterday in the clubhouse, and do what I know I could do. I didn't go up there and try to be someone else. I knew I could get a single. And I can get a single right now today if I have to. I can do that. Now, I may not be able to get a double. I may not be able to hit a triple. I may not be able to hit the ball out the ballpark. But I can get a single. And that's all I ever went up there and tried to do in a pitch hit situation. So, but Randy Bush, he was special.
So much of your story is about finding a guy on your team that has the same work ethic as you, and then you guys just go to it. Frank White with the Royals, Randy Bush with the Twins. You and Randy would go back to New Orleans in the offseason. He was a UNO legend, and Mr. Maestri said, anytime y'all want to come to the facilities, put in work, let's do it. That you were able to have that man at that point in your life put a lot of extra years probably in both of your careers just based on work ethic.
Well, back when Randy and I played, we're not, don't take it as being, we rusty or old, but Randy and I used to throw BP to each other. We go to the ballpark early, I'll throw to him, he throw to me. I mean, we was utility players, we were extra players. So, but, you know, the best person I met in my life is Ron Maestri, because he gave us an opportunity, Randy and myself, someplace that we could go and feel safe and work and just keep honing on our skills. As I said, Randy was super utility hitter, and I was super utility player.
Your whole life has been about leave it better than you found it. Let's work today to make tomorrow better. The Minnesota Twins were a 100-loss franchise when you arrived, and the foundation, Gary Gaetti, Kent Hrbek, Kirby Puckett, it was laid during your 5 years with that team. They won the World Series in '87 and '91 with guys who grew up working with you and Randy Bush. Middle of the '80s, Minneapolis, and Prince is huge. There's a lot going on in Minnesota at that point. You debut the Metrodome. How did that era become a two-time World Series champion team?
Well, they had a leader, just like Seth Thibodeau is a leader. And this team right here is going to find their way also. They had a leader in Tom Kelly. And the one thing that Tom demanded is sound fundamentals. As I mentioned earlier, I mean, I'm like grass. I was grown up on sound fundamentals, so I fit in perfectly. Guys like Gary Gaetti and Kent Hrbek, they came from Double-A to the big leagues, and they were very talented. In 1981, when they came to the big leagues, and then in '82, the Minnesota Twins cleared all the veterans out. That whole team that came from Double-A to Minnesota in 1982, Tom Kelly won a championship with them in Double-A. And he ended up winning the championship with that same group in Minnesota. And it was because those guys, as I tried to express to these young guys yesterday, and I heard a lot of them mention up here, they played as one. They cared about each other. They did things together, and they went out there and they held everyone accountable. And that's why in Minnesota, we went from a team that was getting beat all the time. And I used to always tell those guys, we're getting beat, not because we're not trying or we're not putting out the effort. We get beat because we're not good enough. But eventually, we took a beating enough that all of a sudden, it turned, and Minnesota Twins started beating the own team.
The belief that what's happening today doesn't define you tomorrow. Kirby Puckett hit 4 home runs his first 1,300 at-bats, and then he becomes one of the best sluggers in the game. You were there every day watching Kirby Puckett become one of the greatest names in baseball. A lot of life lessons that helped you become a manager because you were there developing these young players when you were playing with them as teammates.
Well, there's no doubt about that. The only thing I can take credit with Kirby Puckett is I made sure he got up in the morning and got breakfast. I made sure he got rest at night, but the rest of it is Kirby Puckett. The first time that I had an opportunity to get a single room, Kirby Puckett came to town. You mentioned that. And Tom Kelly called me in and said, we have a young man that is going to need your assistance. And we want to put him in a room with you. And I said, no, he ain't, Tom. First time I've ever had a single room. And he said, his name is Kirby Puckett, and we need him to be guided in the right direction. And I was the oldest statesman. And I did things right because I was growing up doing things right. So Kirby became my first roommate for 5 years. You talk about his stats. The first time he came up, he hit 0. The second year, he hit 3. And then Tony Oliva put a 35, for those that don't know, that's 35 inches and 35 ounces in his hand. Taught him how to lift his leg and drop it. And from that point on, Kirby been hitting home runs ever since.
But wait a second, you had more home runs in your first 2 years in the big leagues than Kirby Puckett did.
Yeah, but I wasn't Kirby Puckett. I was guaranteed 5. I was guaranteed 5. I knew when the year started, when I was in the minor leagues and when I got to the big leagues, I knew I would get 5. But I would get me 35, 40 doubles. I would get me 10, 11, 12, 13 triples. But I knew I had 5 bombs. No, I wasn't Kirby Puckett. He was special.
You were part of the last year of Metropolitan Stadium before they tore it down and turned it into the Mall of America. You opened the Metrodome in '82. First home run of your career is a day after your 30th birthday. And now all of a sudden, you're a part of Major League Baseball. Relationships are everything. In 1986, your teammate is Billy Beane, and he sticks around for a couple of years. But who knew that in '86 you're going to meet Billy Beane, and then 11 years later you're going to get a phone call that says, "Hey, I'm the new general manager of the Oakland Athletics. Come be my third base coach."
I didn't. I knew I was, well, when I retired, I went to the Mets. And my wife, she really didn't want me to retire. When you're playing baseball and they get a taste of a few dollars, they don't ever want you to give them up. But what I tried to explain to her is I didn't want to stay in the minor leagues. So the best thing for me to do is to retire. And in 5 years, I'll get back to the big leagues as a coach. Well, she didn't believe that. But I said, once they see what I have to offer to the game, they won't keep me in the minor leagues. But if I try to continue to play, I'm going to play in the minor leagues. And I'm not going back to the minor leagues. It's not going to happen. Well, I got to the big leagues in 5 years. And it was Billy Beane, whom I played with in Minnesota. And in the game of baseball, we all need a sponsor. And ever since that day, Billy Beane has been Ron Washington's sponsor. And it doesn't matter what happens to Ron Washington, I can call Billy Beane, and he'll do things to make things work for me. We all need a sponsor. I'm just fortunate enough that I've met a lot of good people, and we use each other. Okay, that's the way the game is. He used my knowledge and my wisdom. I use the fact to have a job through him.
You were a part of the Moneyball era from its inception. Scott Hatterberg being moved from catcher to first base. Eric Chavez becomes a 6-time Gold Glove winner. But these were just raw tools when that Moneyball movement arrived. It's way before Brad Pitt immortalized Billy Beane in a movie. Eric Chavez gave you his first Gold Glove. And you lived in New Orleans since 1986, off-season home. That Gold Glove gets destroyed in Katrina. Rawlings makes a replica, gives it to Eric Chavez, and he says, this is Ron Washington's Gold Glove. Gives you the replica of that original Gold Glove. To develop those kind of relationships with players, it really is what your story is all about.
Well, when you're a coach, and you're a teacher, and you're a mentor, that's what we do. We give. It was given to me. I didn't accomplish the things that I've accomplished in my life just being Ron Washington. It was other people that instilled it in me. It was other people that drove me to be the person that I am and to have this wisdom and knowledge. But when Eric gave me that glove for the first time, it was in my locker. Well, the way it went is Billy Beane asked me if I thought Eric Chavez could be a Gold Glove. And I said, Eric could be a Gold Glove, but Eric doesn't want to be a Gold Glove. And that entitles putting in time, putting in work. Not just say, I want to be a Gold Glove. It takes work to be a Gold Glove. Well, Eric was one of those guys that was willing to do it. So he got his Gold Glove, and we finished our workout for that day. I walked up to my locker, and it was in my locker. Well, I thought someone was playing around. So I picked it up, and I was carrying it out, and then I saw an inscription in it, and it said, I couldn't have done this without you. And there's no crying in baseball. And I broke down and started crying. So, that's how I got my first Gold Glove. See, I didn't have to work for
it. 2006 becomes that breakthrough moment. John Daniels is a 30-year-old general manager, the youngest in the game, and he calls you up and says, we'd like to make you the manager of the Texas Rangers. At that point, in 2006, in Arlington, that's a strikeout and home run team. Defense only play defense. Pitching, you had to transform that team, and within 5 years, you're beating the Yankees for the AL pennant. You're playing for
Joe Girardi, Jim Leland, the Guru, Joe Madden, took them all down. Prior to that time when I interviewed for the job with Texas, I had been to 3 other interviews, and I knew when I left those interviews that I had the job, but it didn't happen. So when I went and interviewed with Texas, and I walked up in the room, and I'm 55 at the time, and I walk in a room, and there's a bunch of 20-year-olds running the Texas Rangers. So when I walked in, and I said to myself, I know way more baseball than these young dudes. So I'm going to take them to school. Believe it, that's exactly what I told myself. I know way more baseball than these young dudes. I'm going to take them to school. Because they're around here, they're smart. But then I said, if they're going to start talking about baseball, I got the upper hand. So we talked about baseball. I left there again. I didn't care if I got the job or not, because prior when I thought I had the job, it didn't work. So I went home. And that same day when I got home, I got a phone call. And they were just talking about how they enjoyed the interview and this, that, and the other. So when they put the phone down, my wife said, what you think? I said, honey, I think I got the job. But then I thought I had the job when I interviewed for Miami. I thought I had the job 3 or 4 times when I interviewed for Oakland. So I really don't know what's going to happen, but I feel good because I just interviewed with them today. And I just got back home and they called him tonight. We'll see what happens. A couple of days later, I got a phone call. They wanted me to come in for a second interview. I hadn't met the owner yet. We sit down, we had cheeseburgers, and we talked about baseball, and I guess they enjoyed my enthusiasm. And next thing I know, they gave me the job. They gave me the job right there. And they had another guy waiting to come in, but they canceled out. Bad for him.
How do you follow this? And now Nolan Ryan's your president. President Bush is hanging in the stands watching you manage.
He was always in my office.
You know President Bush?
Oh, yeah.
Just hanging?
He's a good man. I mean, you may not agree with sometimes with his politics, but as a man, he's one of the best.
And these conversations that just happen because you're the manager of the Rangers, it's real knows real, that you've always been yourself, and people gravitate to people who know who they are and how you can be authentic. And when the President of the United States recognizes that's got to be a fun moment for a kid from New Orleans East.
Well, it was fun. It was a lot of fun. He's down to earth, very smart. He didn't go to Yale for anything. I mean, in his politics, sometimes he may sound dumb to some people. But the thing is, sharp, very sharp. And I certainly enjoyed the times that he came in and just come in there and talk baseball. And invited me over to his house. I had barbecue at his house in Texas. It was a good time, and I really enjoyed it. And if there's anything in baseball that I really miss, I really miss managing the Texas Rangers.
In 1986, you and your wife moved back to New Orleans in the offseason and bought a place in the lower ninth and rebuilt it after the storm in 2005. Why did you come back, and what was it that you could never leave with New Orleans?
Well, we all Louisiana. I can't leave New Orleans. So Trina did what she did, and she was rough. But I felt like my roots are here. My wife was from a family of 13. I was from a family of 10. And I can tell you right now, my brothers and sisters and them cannot do anything unless they get on the phone and call her, and she agreed with it. I can't see her leaving that. I tried to get her to move to Texas, but she won't do it. So we bound in New Orleans. My roots is in New Orleans. My toughness is from New Orleans. My life is New Orleans. And I don't think now I'll ever give it up because she got younger sisters that as long as she's living, she got to be around for them to cry to.
Every player that has spent time with Ron talks about how not only are you a baseball lifer, but you hang on every pitch. And you are as enthusiastic as they are when runs are scored. What lessons have you drawn from this lifetime in baseball about never losing that boyhood enthusiasm with the game?
Because as a leader, I have to be in the situations with my players, whether it's good or whether it's bad. And the one thing I can't have my players doing is feeling sorry for themselves. This is a tough game. I mean, you fail 7 times, drop 7 passes. See how long you last in football. Miss 7 free throws out of 10. See how long you last in basketball. So it's a game of failure, and it toughens you up. And it's not easy. So I just wanted them to know that whatever they're going through, I'm going through it with them. And that's just the way I've always been. I know I sometimes I may look a little crazy on TV with the things I do, but it's real, and I'm with it. When I played, I was like that. So Eric Chapman told me when I got the job in Texas, when I left home, Ron, don't change who you are, and I never did.
You had an event earlier last month in the Bay Area that Marcus Simeon wanted you to be a part of. There were a bunch of well-known individuals in sports, basketball, football, baseball, that were recognized. It's you, Klay Thompson, Charles Woodson, and you're all on the same stage together. And it's a guy whose career was transformed because of your work with him in the infield. Marcus Simeon goes from statistically one of the worst infielders in the game to a Gold Glove caliber player within a year. The love of game has taken you all over the world and continues to shine a lot of light on you.
Well, I think the credit goes to Marcus Simeon. I know what I'm doing. Marcus really didn't know what he was doing. So, as a person that's teaching another person something, if they don't get it, how good are you? So it's hard for me to take the credit because without Marcus putting in the time and putting in the work, putting in the sweat, what I did would have been all involved. And as I told him, I won't be held responsible for you not getting it done because I know what I'm doing.
And then you continue to just live by example and let people know that I'm going to be a transparent individual. I've seen I've lived through a lot of things. You lost your brother in Vietnam, dad to cancer, your mom Alzheimer's, and yet every day upbeat. Let's go. Let's tackle the day.
Well, I mean, if I wake up, what else can I do? And I'm very pleased when I do wake up because my intentions is whomever I run into during the day, other than my family, I hope I can make a difference. And as a coach, that's all I ever wanted to do is make a difference. When I was a player, all I ever wanted to do was make a difference. Sometimes that difference may be good, sometimes that difference may not be so good, but at least I tried to make a difference.
As we wrap up our conversation with Ron, you've got a bunch of 18 to 23-year-olds that are hanging on every word. Advice to that next generation of baseball players.
Don't take anything for granted. Just leave everything you have out there on the field. Be a good teammate. Show character. There's unity. When you all are pulling on the same rope. And I mean, it's everyday life. It really is. You guys have a great group, and I've just met you, and I've already assessed that. Whatever you accomplish, remember, it's on you. I've watched the way the skipper present himself out there on the field. You have tremendous leadership, and I'm more than certain you got tremendous leadership amongst you guys. But accountability, attitude, commitment, effort, that's what it's going to take. And there's no crying in baseball. And whenever you get knocked down, get up. And you keep getting up till you can't get up. And when you can't get up, try to get up anyway. That's all you can do. And that's just life. And the game is about repetition, adjusting, readjusting, adjusting, readjusting, adjusting, readjusting, adjusting, readjusting. And it's continuing. And if you do that, I think everyone here will be happy with the Cardinals. And They have one hell of a leader in set. I just can't keep saying it. I just met him, and I just love the way he carries himself. I love the vigor in which he goes about his business. He has it so hard. I have it really easy. I deal with professionals, but he's dealing with kids that he has to make sure they get their schooling done. He has to deal with moms. He has to deal with going out trying to find recruits. All I got to do is go to my field, do what I do to make this guy more consistent than was yesterday, and it's just a continuous thing. That's all I do. But he's got a very tough job, and I think he's doing a tremendous job. I feel the energy here, and if everyone here bring their family and bring some family, and start filling up the stadium, I think other than what you got last year, you can reach the top, and that's even getting past LSU.
The all-time winningest manager in Texas Rangers history.